Hello and welcome to Ahval, Hot Pursuit. We are here gathered to assess and analyze the outcome, the conclusions of the EU summit vis-à-vis Turkey-European Union relations. Much awaited meeting ended with a text, and here with the two top experts, we are going to look through the text, what it means. Yannis Koutsomitis from Greece. Welcome, Yanni.
Thank you. Glad to join you.
And Cengiz Aktar, coincidentally also from Greece. Hello, Cengiz.
Yes.
Okay, so let's begin with Yannis about this outcome. The European leaders gathered virtually in Brussels. And one of the top hot topics was Turkey, of course, as expected. And how do you see the developments and the outcome and the output?
Well, we need to also take into account the context that this session, this council took place. It took place just a few days after two very, let's say, aggressive actions by Turkish leadership regarding human rights, which spoiled somehow the positive mood that was hanging around the European leadership, and wanted to make some gesture to the Turkish government regarding the Euro-Turkish relationships. Of course, we can't judge the timing of Mr. Erdogan's decisions. I think no one on earth can make a judgment when this leader takes his decisions, but
due to unpredictability of his actions.
Yes, of course. But at the end, I think it was, let's say, it forced the hands of Cyprus and Greece and other countries to include some clauses and paragraphs in the final statement of the leaders that includes the human rights, and also a hint for possible sanctions if Turkey reverts to its usual aggressive actions in Eastern Mediterranean. So all in all, I think it's what we have expected after the decisions by Mr. Erdogan from last Friday night. And I don't think there could be much more expecting from this leadership of Europe, which has a distinct mood to boost the Euro-Turkish relations, regardless, let's say, to a certain extent, regardless of its actions, of Ankara's actions regarding Eastern Mediterranean, Syria, Libya, Southern Caucasus, and human rights issues in Turkey.
Can we say that Greece and Cyprus lost in a way after this meeting?
Well, they got a bit more than what they expected because they were fearing for much worse. Even the report of Mr. Borrell and European Commission was much more positive than what was expected in Athens and Nicosia. And at the end, there was no surprises, unpleasant surprises in Athens. They know now, in Athens, they know what to expect from Brussels and from European capitals. They know what everyone's positions are regarding European-Turkish relations. They know that Turkey has vested interests in Hungary, in Spain, in Italy, of course in Germany, first of all, and some other countries, which makes it almost impossible practically to have legitimate sanctions decided against the Turkish government.
Also, in addition, Bulgaria and Romania also
act
indirectly and quite visibly the Turkish position.
Exactly.
It means a severely divided European Union in terms of relations with Turkey. Cengiz, there was sort of a lukewarm reaction from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Ankara, welcoming that. Also, interestingly, it mentions a call for opening the chapters 23, 24 in accession negotiations. How do you see the result?
Well, I mean, the reaction of the Turkish Ministry of Foreign Affairs was prepared in advance, I think, because it's a two pages long declaration, which came almost immediately when the conclusions were announced in Brussels. So it's a masterminded deal, I think. They decided.
Are you saying that it's kind of a tacit agreement between two sides, unspoken, discreet understanding, a common understanding, maybe?
Most probably, yes. And the representative of the European Commission, Nicolaus Meyer-Landrut, is fully involved in this masterminding. I think he's a very close associate of Chancellor Merkel, former ambassador in Paris, and appointed to a lousy post as the representative of the Commission in Ankara. I mean, it raises questions. So I think they decided to be happy. I think both parties decided to be happy with this deal. I mean, frankly, it shows how desperate, in a way, Ankara is, because this sub-chapter in the conclusions, it's not even about Turkey. It's about Eastern Mediterranean. No one noticed that.
You mean the title?
The title. It's about Eastern Mediterranean. So the equation is not between Turkey, what is happening in Turkey, what is not happening in Turkey on the one hand, and what can Europe do with this, etc. No. It's about the Eastern Mediterranean. And the so-called conditionality
I think we
lost
your voice there, Yannis.
Yes.
Yes,
Well,
back to Cengiz again. Cengiz, we lost you in there a little while in the voice so can you repeat what you said?
Of course, the equation is not about what is happening in Turkey and how Turkey behave in the country, etc. No, the equation is about the withdrawal, for the time being, temporary probably, of the Turkish boats, to Turkish seismic vessels and the gunboats and the fighter jets, and how the EU may react to it in the weeks and months to come. So it's first nothing to do with the domestic situation in the country. No one cares about it, neither Turks nor the Europeans. So I think, but despite this, and despite the title of this sub conclusion, Eastern Mediterranean, the Turkish side decided to be happy with that. I mean, it's an insult, frankly. I mean, they don't even mention, even on the paper, Turkey as a candidate country. They don't talk or very elusively about the visa exemption, which is, in my opinion, anyhow, was the dead deal right from the beginning. And of course, they come with the only possible carrot that may, soothe Ankara and please Ankara, is the revision of the customs union. It is strictly impossible in the sense that first of all, it will take years. Negotiating the revision of a very technical and economic matter with a bankrupt economy, give me a break. And three, it is clearly written in paragraph 11A that this revision should be conducted with Turkey recognizing or dealing or being in touch with all the EU member states, which means including the Republic of Cyprus. So the Turkey didn't manage to include in the framework of its customs union after the last big enlargement in 2004, the Republic of Cyprus. This is why 8 chapters have been suspended at the European Council in December 2006. Mm-hmm. So now, will they accept this, way of dealing with within the framework of the revision of the customs union? Forget it. So it's I mean, I'll stop there.
Okay, it's a bit wobbly, the relation, the contact with you. But Yannis, what do you have to say about this customs union? Is it really that difficult? Because Turkey has already sort of a database of a customs union. Would it really take a long time to revise it?
Well, I think since we have a very, very bad context, which is the Brexit, and the negotiations with China, and including the human rights issue in every trade agreement that the European Parliament demands in its trade agreements with other countries, I think it will be a very, very high task for any commission or council to send to the European Parliament a revised customs union agreement with Turkey when all this is happening in Turkey, which is total, let's say, ridicule of the accession talks with European Union. It's a candidate, so-called candidate country that is tearing apart all the European ideals and principles. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of ridiculous. How can you go and extend a trade agreement with a country that is violating all the principles that are enshrined in the European treaties? So even if there is a political will on certain governments, and there is one, of course, there are certain countries and industrial lobbies that want an extension of the trade with Turkey, which is okay. On the other hand, the political arms of the European Union will not accept that. Anyway, there's no majority in Strasbourg and Brussels in the European Parliament for any such extension. And also, to emphasize on what Cengiz just said, it is ridiculous to extend a union, customs union, that does not recognize one member state of the 27. It is out of the question.
Given that most important aspect for on Erdogan's side is to win time as long as possible, for the European Union is also a postponement of any rift, further rift with the Erdogan as long as possible. So it means what you're telling me is that it is a lip service, basically. Everyone, each part knows about these aspects, but they still pay lip service.
Of course, and you know what? It could make, if let's say that there is a scenario that European Union and the Parliament is convinced, etc., it would create a black hole in the trade of the European Union. You would see hundreds and thousands of companies setting up in northern Cyprus and creating black market trade between the European Union and Turkey, because there's no way of controlling what's going in and out of these areas. You see what the fuss is going on with Northern Ireland and the Brexit agreement and the protocol and the Black Friday agreement. Imagine if the roadblocks in Cyprus are removed and the trade is free between Northern Cyprus and South Cyprus. It would be a bonanza for the black market traders. And in Brussels, they know that, and they want to avoid that.
Okay, we are closing. We are running out of time, but we have maybe three questions. Another one for you, Yannis. There is also mention of a meeting proposed by President Erdogan, is East Mediterranean Conference or Mediterranean Conference, etc. Is it likely, or is it also a lip service?
Well, I think it's not realistic, because for two reasons. One reason is Mr. Erdogan would like to have a a conference that would be part of an agreement outside of the international law status and international law framework that would not include the Republic of Cyprus as a sovereign entity. Of course, if he would accept that, he would destroy 45 years of Turkish foreign policy, which if he's willing to do that, then okay. But I don't see a chance in a million of him accepting sitting next to Nikos Anastasiadis as a sovereign leader of a country. This is out of the question.
Maybe he can propose further that Anastasiadis sits in another room while the 26 members are sitting in one hall.
This is not happening anyway. What the other reason is, he wants to have a backdoor diplomacy deal beside all the legitimate, let's say, frameworks and democratic checks and balances of the European Union, and have some leaders outside the European Council, just as sovereign leaders, decide, in absence of the institutions of the European Union, decide the fate of Eastern Mediterranean. It will not happen in a million years, Mr. Erdogan. No.
And Cengiz, back to you. Also, but the overall text doesn't have, it goes under the title of Eastern Mediterranean. It doesn't mention accession process. It doesn't mention negotiation process, candidate country, etc., etc. Yet, Turkish Ministry of Foreign Affairs, in its response, talks about chapter 23, chapter 24, basically has to do with the judiciary, etc., offering or calling for that. Isn't there some discrepancy in there?
No, I mean, it's a joke, frankly. I mean, they have announced a week ago the so-called Human Rights Action Plan. So let them stick to this action plan. And I mean, this is, frankly, I mean, it is becoming a total dystopia. I mean, no one in Europe, in Brussels, Strasbourg, anywhere in the capitals, talk anymore about Turkey as a candidate country. This is over. And they still insist, as Yannis just put, ignoring the reality, living in a totally parallel world, and pretending things that they don't exist. But in that sense, frankly, the entire document is a shame. Is a shame in the sense that Europeans, are telling the world how powerless they are regarding Turkey, and Turkey is pretending still to be in the game with the European Union. Let me give you one example. This UN, gathered the informal, it's not even a summit. It's in Geneva on the 27th, 29th of April, under the auspices of Guterres. The paper, I mean, the conclusions mention this by omitting that it's an informal meeting. And moreover, they add to it that these are negotiations. They are not. Because, I mean, it's total nonsense. It's, Turkey is coming with its two-state formula, which is rejected not only by the European Union, not only by the relevant countries, the three guarantor states, the UK and the two of the three, and Greece, but also by Russia, United States, and name it. So I mean, how weak and powerless, and because they want to believe on things that they don't exist. I'm talking about the Europeans. It's really pitiful, and I agree with Yannis that, I mean, it's Brussels in that sense, and in particular the offices of Josep Borrell are frankly off the hook.
I see. Final question to both of you, the same question actually. Looking at the big picture of this, what these conclusions or temporary conclusions, because they are basically postponing the conclusions to another set of conclusions in the summer, is that, what does that tell us in terms of reasoning? In terms of reasoning, as suggested perhaps, that European Union, perhaps in sync with Biden administration, doesn't really want to, at this moment, mess with Erdogan government. And with the consideration of the big challenge of Russia, and also with the strain of COVID, which is big pressure over European Union. So is that the reasoning, that let's set it aside, be tactical, let's not have any strategy yet about this, some wait until Turkish economic crisis is putting more pressure on Erdogan, and then he will feel more and more helpless, and we don't want any blame for this due to our actions, so that Erdogan can use this against us. Is that how we should see it, or is it different? Yannis?
Well, I think you're right, but for another reason. They don't care about Erdogan. They care about their interests in Turkey. First of all, they have dozens of billions of euros of investments in Turkey, in industries and banks. You know it very well. And also, second part is they fear, they have nightmares of destabilization of Turkey, either by a coup or collapse or implosion of the regime, because they don't have the resources to handle a collapse of Turkey. So there is a common thinking among the leadership of Europe, and also some of the political leaders in the United States as well. So let's contain Erdogan. Let's contain him to an extent that he's not dangerous or aggressive. Tell him to stay quiet, and we'll try not to push him over the cliff, because if he falls over the cliff, he'll take along all our investments, all the refugees. It will open the hell. So we don't want that, and we don't want to deal with that. So it's just kicking the can down the road, not helping in surviving the democratic opposition or any democratic opposition in Turkey. They let any opponent to the Turkish regime just rot in prisons, which is to me an affront to have sanctions because one citizen of Russia is treated badly by Russian regime, but you have thousands of Turkish citizens being treated badly by the Turkish regime. There is not a single sanction on a single Turkish official, which is the double standards that make European Union almost uncredible to the rest of the world.
Okay, last question. The same question goes to you, Cengiz.
Well, I mean, this containment / appeasement policy that Yannis has just mentioned, of course, it makes the following assumption, that this regime, the Ankara regime, can be reformed. This is a false assumption. I mean, Turkish regime.
So? Is there such optimism?
Of course, because they want to, they still want to influence or, incite the Erdogan regime towards a kind of rationality, reforms and this and that. So they take the regime to its words. You have done the right thing. Bravo for the action plan on the human rights. Bravo of being, a nice boy in the Eastern Mediterranean. You have withdrawn your vessels, etc. So this is, this is a pipe dream. I mean, these are wishful thinkings. You cannot deal with a non-democratic country with rational and democratic means. They have exactly the same problem with Russia. So this is a fundamental problem, and it will last because they have no answer. They still talk about dialogue. Merkel today, commenting on the outcomes of the European Council, said exactly this: we still need to continue to dialogue with Ankara. Why for? I mean, the more the Europeans appease, the more Erdogan abuses them since years, including on the refugee deal. Because, just one sentence. I mean, they tend to forget that you know, one of the main root causes of the present refugee situation in the region is precisely the Ankara regime, which still fuels the you know, the fire in Syria, and on the one hand, and talks about you know, harboring refugees. I mean, this is it, and they don't want to see this. You know, and if frankly Erdogan would have stopped its you know, its national army of the jihadists, etc., maybe the Syrian civil war would have ended by then, and the refugees returned home.
And Yannis, you were saying something?
Just to add to what Cengiz said, is European Union is falling for the blackmail of Mr. Erdogan with the 4 million refugees of Syria. And there is not a single mention of a master plan, or even not a master plan, a plan. How long will this blackmail go on? For how many years? How many years of renewal of the 2016 agreement with Turkey? Next billions in 2 years, another billions in 5 years. For how many years will this go on and European taxpayers will play black money to Mr. Erdogan? The European Union does not have a plan about the fate of these 4 million Syrian refugees. So it should stand up. If they care about the fate of these people, they should stand up and care about the future, how these people will return to their homes on a safe and a democratic Syria. There's absolutely no plan about that.
With this big question mark you raised, Yannis Koutsomitis, we'll end this conversation. Greatly enlightening. Yannis Koutsomitis, chief editor of Kappa News from Athens, and Cengiz Aktar, columnist and author based in Greece, columnist for Ahval Turkish and Ahval English. Thank you for this conversation, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you. And good luck to the book of Cengiz. It's coming out in Greece in the next few days.